Hey guys, Dave again. Welcome back to the channel. So today is March 15th and we're hearing some rumors coming out that we're looking at a new tax hike. Now this will be the first one since '93 when Bill Clinton did it. Wasn't super popular then. I don't know that it's super popular now, but I thought we would go over sort of what they're proposing and then how this is absolutely going to destroy the poor. I mean, this whole scenario is setting up to just be an absolute disaster if you're poor. So basically, what's being proposed in a new tax bill, or at least what they're talking about, what they're starting to float. Typically when they float this, it usually means it's coming. They're just trying to warm you up to it so that it's not such a shocker when it actually hits. But right now they're looking to raise corporate taxes from 21% to 28%. They're looking to raise individual tax rates on people making more than $400,000 a year. They're looking to expand the estate tax. So go see my video on No More Family Farms. That video will explain the estate tax, basically, that's coming down the mix. They're looking to create a higher capital gains tax for people making more than $1 million. And then they're looking to add limited benefits for pass-through companies. So basically, if you have a company that owns another company, think conglomerates, those kinds of things. Yeah, I mean, they put these figures in here, these $400,000, these $1 million here, trying to make it seem more plausible. Let's realize that we're all going to be making that kind of money here in the not too long because inflation's going to go through the roof. This is absolutely going to trickle down and hit the middle class. There's just no way. And we'll get into inflation and where that's going to come from and why that's going to get really ugly here in a minute. So the administration's saying that this is going to raise $2.1 trillion over the next 10 years. So if we look at that, it's going to take 50 years to pay off the spending we've done in the last year since the hit 50 years at this rate to pay this off. I don't think it's a tax problem. Granted, we have a tax problem, but in this scenario, I don't think it's a tax problem. We have a spending problem. We need to get that under control. It's clearly out of control. So what do they want to use this new tax revenue for? It's not to pay off debt. That's not the angle, and that's not where we're going here. They want to use these new tax revenues to pay for infrastructure, climate change. They want to revamp manufacturing, housing, healthcare, and education. Let's take a minute here. So, didn't the government already revamp education? Didn't they go ahead and guarantee student loans? How's that going? So every time government gets involved in something, yeah, you see how it goes. So how's your student loan payment coming along? Thanks govies. Let's see. They revamped healthcare with Obamacare. How's your health insurance bill going? Mine's through the roof. So they got involved with housing with Section 8. Anybody have any good Section 8 housing stories? I don't. What do we absolutely think is going to happen to manufacturing if government gets involved? So you're going to revamp manufacturing and then we'll play hypothetical on this one. They get their tax hike pushed through. How is an American manufacturing company remotely going to compete with someone like China? They can't compete now. And now we're going to have government getting involved. Like, free markets are the best way to do anything. Corporations will find the cheapest way to do stuff. So we're going to have government get involved with manufacturing and it's going to compete. Yeah, sure. Okay, whatever. So the administration, when they took over, there was $1.6 trillion in the Fed general account, which is basically the government's checking account. Go look at my other video that I did a while ago. That was all this money. What are they doing with it? It went over that account, where that money is. A lot of it came from the CARES Act. It was money that didn't get spent. So January they took over. It's March. It's been 2 months. That account's already been drained of $300 billion. So it had 1.6 in it. It's down to 1.3. It's $300 billion already gone out the door. I have no idea what they've spent it on. I don't know what it's gone to. But Janet Yellen has come out and said that she wants to spend all of that money, basically as fast as she can, to get us back down to normal levels, which are roughly 300 billion. So there's another trillion sitting there after the 300 billion that's already been spent that they want to get out. So they just passed 1.9. They're going to drop another trillion, 1.3 if you want to count the money they've already spent. So we're looking at $4 trillion right there hitting the market. So there's only really one thing that can happen out of that. And that's going to destroy the poor. So you can't pump another $4 trillion into the economy and not have it go a few certain places. So where does that money usually go? So, excuse me, it's not $4 trillion, it's 3.2. My bad, sorry. I was trying to wing it off the top of my head there. $3.2 trillion. If you pump $3.2 trillion into the economy, 1.9 plus the 1.3 from the Fed general account is the 3.2. Self-corrected there, sorry about that. So that $3 trillion goes into the economy. It's going to go to housing, it's going to go into the stock market, and it's going to go into commodities. That's just typically where the money goes. Basically, assets go through the roof. Like, people have more money, they'll spend more money on those things because they're things that people want. People want assets. So, and if you think I'm wrong, have you been to the store and tried to buy a 2x4 lately? Have you seen the price of lumber? It's through the roof. Every building material is through the roof. And they're gonna say, oh, it's because of demand for housing, it's because of this. Yeah, people have more money to spend on this kind of stuff. They're trying to buy bigger and more and more and more because that's where the money goes to. It goes to those assets. So it drives all of that up. That's inflation at work right there. Don't get sucked into the CPI that a lot of people like to call it. They're not using it accurately. It doesn't accurately monitor really what you're seeing. So these asset prices are going to go through the roof. And I'll give you an example on lumber. Let's circle back around to that for a second. So in November, a 2-bedroom lumber package for a house will cost you roughly 18 grand. Right now, it's running you $62,000 for that same lumber package. Inflation's here. Inflation's hitting. It's everywhere. So if you're poor, and this number here is me guessing at this number. I think if you're in the bottom 75% at this point of income earners, you're going to get priced out and you're in a lot of trouble. You know, inflation's coming, asset prices are going through the roof, and as inflation spikes up, they have to raise interest rates to slow that down. Otherwise, you get in this crazy hyper runaway inflation, and we end up with wheelbarrows full of money trying to buy a loaf of bread. So they'll raise in interest rates to keep that inflation from getting out of control. But when that happens, you can't buy anything. So now the asset price is so high, people are locked into it and they have to get X amount of dollars to get out of it. And now you have to spend so much money per month in a mortgage, even at 30 years, to buy the house, that people in that bottom 75% bracket aren't going to be able to afford a house. We saw it in Japan back in the 80s and 90s when it exploded. Multi-generational families living in one house because it takes that many people to afford one. Like, if you're poor, and you're poor now, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what the method out of this is, especially as they raise, taxes on businesses. They raise capital gains taxes. On this channel, I'm a big proponent of start businesses and invest in equities. This thing attacks both of those. Those are the ways to make wealth in this country. And those are both of what they're coming for. So if we look at a scenario where this has sort of played out before in the past, we can look at the Weimar Republic, early Germany before the Nazis. So when all of that fell apart, the people that got rich were the people that owned farmland. Farmers got really, really rich because they had an asset that produced something that people needed. So there was a lot of resentment there. People were like, we're paying you all this money for eggs and for beef and for all of that kind of stuff. And they're like, what are you doing with it? And they're like, we're paying off our mortgage. Like, having those types of assets matter. The poor don't have them now. the rich do, and the rich are getting more. And let me give you some examples. There's a reason that Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos are skyrocketing up the farmland owners list. If you look at Bill Gates just became the largest farmland owner in the country. Ted Turner's on that list. Jeff Bezos is on that list. There's a lot of tech titans and media moguls and super rich guys that are snagging up huge amounts of farmland. Why? Because when everything falls apart, farmland produces something that everybody needs. Food. You know, commodities, food. Like, that's where the wealthy are moving. Do yourself a favor, get yourself a couple acres. If you can't get that, get an acre, get a quarter, get whatever, so that you can get some animals on there. You know, you can buy chickens super cheap. You can get some baby cows. You can get some stuff to start raising, so you have something to sell or something to feed yourself with, something to offset the cost that it's going to be. Going to the grocery store is going to get insanely expensive here shortly. Doing everything is going to get insanely expensive here shortly. You can't pump this kind of money in here and not see it just absolutely rise. And if you're poor, $1,400 stimulus checks aren't going to do it. They're coming to tax that money. They're coming back to get that money. They've given it to you, but they're coming back for it. And they're just spending money to spend money. You know, this Fed general account, they're wasting that money. I don't know what to tell you. It's going to be a whole lot of people that are really dependent on the government. Now, we can say that that's the plan. It's either that or ignorance. It's either by design or it's ignorance. You make your own call. I know which side of the fence I'm on. But this is scary. I don't like to be doom and gloom channel, but everything we look at fundamentally keeps pointing us down the same road. That's just a really ugly road. If you can't buy farmland and you got some money, buy a house in another country. I don't know, but sorry to be bearer of bad news. That's what we're hearing right now. Hopefully it changes, you know, but with the majority and the people pushing for it have the majority that they need, with 51 votes. I'm sure they're going to push it through as reconciliation again, which gives you the 50-50, and then the vice president makes the deciding vote. They're just giving you time to let it soak in. They're not really giving you a choice. There's nobody to write on this one. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, so I'll catch you guys in the next one.